Good, good. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very, very much for coming. We have like an 80-slide show to present today, but before we get started, if you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Indivisible is a good word, that one. Okay, so we're going to go through a little bit of a slide presentation today to talk about our mid-year report, where Sun City West stands as of January 17th, 2024. And I'll preface that by saying we're in a pretty good spot. So today, as far as our mid-year topics go that we want to touch on, are some of the things that affect us on a daily basis. We're going to talk a little bit about human resources and how we deal with the people and our staff that we do have and the team we've put together. We're going to talk a little bit about budget and finance. There's a lot of community talk about where we sit and what we do and where your funds go and how that's all processed. We'll kind of do our best to explain that a little bit today. This slideshow will be online posted, so if you want to see this at your own free will, go to our webpage after this meeting. It will be posted. You'll take a peek at our investment portfolio. There's been a lot of social media information passed along about how we invest our funds. This I think Cliff is going to give a pretty good presentation as to where we sit financially, where we've been, where we've come through, and where we're going. So good information there. Unfortunately, James Riley is ill today, not here, so I'll be carrying a little bit of the water when it comes to the memberships in the CC&R report. A good IT report Katie's put together to talk about where we sit, where we're going as far as all of our software, our infrastructure, what we do with the hardware systems that we have, and everything that we do provide in Sun City West. Water is gold in Arizona, so we'll be talking a little bit about water conservation and how we proceed and where we're going, looking forward over the next 10 years as far as water goes and kind of where we've come from and where we're going as far as that goes. We will touch on charter clubs, a CIP update by Carl, and then we'll summarize where we're going and what the mid-year looks for us and where we're projected to be come June. So when it comes to the organizational chart, I really can't be more proud of the team that's been assembled here as far as the organizational staff working daily here at Sun City West. We do have one open position since the retirement of Kathy Peterson. We've sat on that for about 6 months, just trying to figure out this organizational chart, moving some people around, putting people in the right spots. It's really, kind of back to my old days as a ball player, really as a point guard. You just got to put people in the right spot and people that can score. And that's really what we've done. And I think we've assembled a terrific team here that I really personally couldn't be more proud of. Take a few hits in the world of social media. That's all good. That comes with the job. I know that. But really, the frontline people and the 400 or so people that are below these folks of organizers and managers really do an extremely nice job for us. The vast majority of folks employed here live here. So there's a lot of internal work going on and some great folks doing what we need them to do to make Sun City West operate the way it does. So recruiting services, we focus on finding good employees for the organization. And then once we find them, what can we do to basically keep them, retain them, and the professional relationships that we develop with all of our staff, from employee golf programs to getting out to special events and helping each other out, jumping from one department to the other when needed. There's really a lot of camaraderie that we have amongst all of our staff to make sure that at the end of the day, things get done. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to Kirsten Peterson, who is going to give a little bit of insight as to what we face in today's world when it comes to HR. Forward advance, and there you go.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Bill. I'd like to talk to you about HR. As Bill said, staffing and recruitment is at the heart of what HR does. I will refer to it as the life cycle of the association. We look to support, find, hire, get the right person into the right seat, and there's a lot of process that goes around that endeavors. So when we have an open position, we sit down, we being the HR team, sits down with the hiring managers, and we look at the job descriptions. And so I want to let you know that each of our jobs has a written job description. And when we look at those job descriptions, we're looking at several things. We're typically looking at the KSAs, or the knowledge, skills, and abilities of that particular singular job, what makes it unique. And so we're looking at those things and making sure that they're up to date. Do we need to make any changes before we post a new job? What you may not know is the breadth of services that we provide. So we have 33 different departments that we support. We have 26 locations in 51 different buildings, and we have 93 different unique positions that are within the association. And you may not know, we work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to support the community in what we do. So we are a really unique employee demographic in the fact that over half of our employees actually live within the walls of Sun City West. And most of those folks are mostly retired or semi-retired. They are, if you're looking at our age demographic, 246 of our employees are over the age of 65, and of those 246, the average age is actually 72 and a half years old. So we have a different, unique perspective when it comes to employment. The bottom part of that is we're going to look at the longevity of our employees, and you'll see that we have quite a span of folks that have been here for quite some time. The average tenure of our employees is 7 years, and in Sun City West, folks have been here more than 3 years. And so we're going to talk about how that's different than the Arizona and national averages. So we're working in what we call the Great Resignation, but what we want to talk about is the fact that we really do excel when we're looking at like employers. The Bureau of Labor Statistics gave us some information that the service industry, which we are customer service, has the lowest median tenure of employment of 2 years. So when you're thinking about us, and we're looking back at that last slide, our tenure is quite a bit higher than that. 24% of employees these days are with their employers for less than 1 year. So it's a rapidly turning employment kind of environment. And so these are just some interesting statistics. You'll see our turnover rate since 2018 has hovered between 24 and 27%. We'll talk a little bit about why that's interesting. The Bureau of Labor Statistics provided that in 2022, 50.5 million Americans voluntarily just walked and quit their jobs. So they're looking for something different. And again, Sun City West is below the averages of Arizona and the national averages. So here we have, we're members of the Employers Council, and this gives us a look at what is happening in the state of Arizona. We are the red line, and you'll see that the turnover rate in the state of Arizona is just a titch over 50%, or excuse me, 45%. So what we do know is talking with like employers in the West Valley here that I am in contact with, we are learning that their turnover rate tends to be and is closer to 50%. So when we look back at our turnover rate and the fact that most of our folks are retired already and just filling in jobs and looking for fun things to do, our turnover rate is really well below the state of Arizona and the national average. So what do we do in order to make ourselves competitive and a place that people want to come to work? We are constantly looking at things like the labor market analysis. We look at job descriptions, as we talked about. We're redoing those job descriptions each time that there's a job opening. We're looking at skill sets. We are doing wage surveys within the community, within the state. We make sure that our benefits are competitive with our other likely situated employers around the county. And we do a recruiting effort that we have trumped up in the past couple of months, we are doing various online platforms, and we also do we are going to actual job fairs. We're attending a lot of those. We're working with the state of Arizona, making sure that we're on those job boards, and we're still offering referral bonuses so that our community members that may, want a bonus to get some employees on, there is that opportunity for them as well. So eventually in that employee life cycle, we do have employees that leave the business. This is a reflection of 2018 to 23. You'll see that that is the number of employees that left. In 2023, we had 108 employees depart the business. And there's two ways that an employee departs the business. They either depart because they want to, which we call voluntary leaving, or it's involuntary. Of those 108, only 4 were actually asked to leave the business. So when we look at that, here are some of the reasons that someone leaves. So again, remember, of 108, 4 left because the business needed them to, and for those it could be for various reasons, poor job performance, sleeping on the job, but most of the time it is a voluntary resignation, and these are just some of the ways that a person would leave the business. So in conclusion, we do have 15 positions open at the moment, and we encourage you, if you are interested in employment, to check us out online. I've brought some cards that you can look at and see the link to our employment website, and we are excited to have you. And again, our community members are the backbone, and so we thank you for all of your support.
Thank you, Kirsten. That's that, if you would. We're going to move into budget and finance at this point, and we will take questions, any and all, at the end of this presentation. Our staff will be at the table. There's a sign-in booth at the back and a microphone up front, so we'll be more than happy to address any and all questions that you might have. But now we'll kind of get into a little bit of the meat and potatoes as far as how this operation really, really works. And so, if I can advance the slide. When it comes to Phoenix, we're looking at the red line in Maricopa County, and the blue line represents the United States. So when it comes to some core items and commodities that really what things cost in the valley, the Bureau of Labor Statistics kind of show that it's expensive to live in Phoenix, a little higher than the national average relative to the United States. So the consumer prices that you pay on your everyday walkabouts as far as living, we have the same effect when we try to procure things operationally that we need here. Things have jumped in price. We all know that. What's gone up? Fuel, oil, practically everything from eggs to gasoline to electricity. So when we look at these prices pre-pandemic to some of the jumps that we've experienced, right, we deal with that. 54% jump in fuel since the pandemic. I mean, we all talk about the price of eggs. We did a calculation the other day based on just if you buy a couple of dozen eggs a month, the change in price of eggs, if you add that up over the course of the year, was actually higher than your annual dues increase. So it's expensive as far as how things are going in this direction. But on the good news side, it's the money here that we do take in as far as our dues and our APF fees and all the golf revenue and bowling revenues and all the things that we take care of here. We do a pretty good job managing that, and that's going to be explained by Mr. Cliff Swan, our CFO.
Thank you, Bill, and good morning, everyone. This is the exciting portion of the presentation, and I know you've all been waiting for it. Okay, so good news. Through December this year, we are favorable in every section of this income statement. So in expenses, we're $23,000 favorable. I'm sorry, in revenue, we're $23,000 favorable compared to budget. In expenses, we're $156,000 favorable. Overall operations, $179,000 favorable to budget. And down in the capital section, which we're really excited about, because this we have less control over when it comes to investments, APFs, things like that, things that are subjected to the market. We are almost 1.3 million favorable down in the capital section of this income statement for an overall $1,453,000 favorable through December. So we're happy about that, and just wanted to report that in terms of our financial where we're at for the year. So it's budget season, and we are super excited about this. We really are, and I'm not being facetious. I am dead serious. We love this time of year in the finance department. So what are we doing now? So in our annual financial plan, we have a policy that dictates how we kind of put that together, the timeline, things like that. So in the capital improvement budget, we started in September, and we are 5 months into this, and we've had 18 public meetings thus far, September through December. And we're going to have another 24 meetings where we'll have an opportunity to talk about this. So we're halfway through the capital improvement budget, and it's going really well, and we're really excited about it. On the operating budget, we've got 6 years under our belt. We're going to use that as a baseline and project out the next 6 months, and we're going to start building an operating budget. We'll start with payroll, our largest expense, but our first presentation on the operating budget will be at the B&F committee on February 8th, and we'll have over 20 meetings between January and the time we finalize the budget in May. We also have YouTube and board docs, so if you're not able to attend these meetings, you can watch them live or watch them after the fact on YouTube, and then all the documents that we post at these meetings are in board docs at each meeting. So if you need to get any of the details to the numbers, you'll be able to access that in board docs. So in going through the budget, I talked about it a little bit. We start with payroll. It's our largest expense. We're a service business, typical of any service business that doesn't have inventory, doesn't have cost of sales. Okay, so this is our largest expense, especially since we own everything here, right? Everything is owned here. We don't have debt. Okay, so this is our largest expense. These are mandated increases that we have to deal with when we put the budget together. So I just want to talk about our largest expense here for a little bit. Prop 206, that came out in 2016. It was put on the ballot, and basically in 2016, there was an initiative that started. It got voted to be put on, they got enough signatures to get it on the ballot. And what happened was it took minimum wage from $8.05 in 2016 to $10 an hour in 2017. All right. Since then, the objective by 2020 was to get to $12 an hour. And then you can see since 2017 through 2023, minimum wage rose to $13.85 an hour. This year we had a 50-cent increase, so it's currently $14.35 an hour in 2024. So you can see, in the past, minimum wage kind of hovered with inflation. It chased it a little bit because you got to wait for the inflation numbers, yearly inflation numbers to come out. But until 2016, the state of Arizona pivoted with Prop 206. And what happened since then? Inflation on average minimum wage increase on average outpaced inflation by double. Okay? That impacts us significantly. It's our largest expense, labor. So what portion of our staff is tied directly to minimum wage? 76% of our 480 employees are tied directly to minimum wage. So since 2017, since that point in time, inflation has gone up 25% over that period of time. Arizona minimum wage has gone up. These are cumulative numbers, so you take the percent increases and add them together. Arizona minimum wage has gone up 58% cumulatively. Our dues have gone up 22%. So we've gone up on an average 3% per year since 2017 in the face of 25 and 58%. Some more mandates that are on the horizon. They haven't come into fruition yet, but they could. So the Department of Labor is looking at the overtime threshold for salaried employees. So what that means is currently the threshold is $36,000 a year. So if you're a salaried employee and you make $36,000 a year, you're not entitled to overtime. They're looking at increasing that between $55,000 and $60,000 a year, depending on how the numbers shake out. So what that'll mean is, for us to have a salaried employee not get overtime, they'll have to make at least $55,000 to $60,000 a year. Otherwise, we'll probably make them hourly and pay them overtime if their job requires them to work more than 40 hours a week. The other one, and more significantly, is there's currently an initiative out there, and we'll find out in July if it gets on the ballot, but there's an initiative out there to take the minimum wage from $14.35 an hour in 2024 directly to $18 an hour in 2025. Folks, that's a budget buster. That's a significant number. That would really impact us significantly. So, of course, we're keeping an eye on that, but how do we deal with that? Because our budgets run from July through June. So we're not even going to know as we go through the budget process if this is going to happen or not. So we'll have to deal with that and think about how we do that. There have been some changes to getting initiatives on the ballot, which are going to make this harder than it was in 2016. But if it gets on the ballot, it's going to be interesting. So how do we pay for everything here at the association? Policy dictates how we spend our funds. Okay, so I want to be clear here. APFs go directly into our reserve fund, which funds our capital improvement projects. Okay? The other items on this list, other than investment income, the other items, the sports pavilion revenue, the membership revenue, the golf revenue, the rec, club, and other, that all funds our operations. Okay, so I want to be clear. I want to delineate what pays for what. Okay? However, when you take the full pot, the full bucket of money, okay, this is how it breaks out. 46% of our funding comes from membership dues, of our total funding when you include APFs, so you include the capital section item of the income statement. 46% comes from dues. Golf funds 33% of everything that we do here. APFs 14, and then down the line. The reason I show you this is if you think dues don't have an impact on everything that we do here, you're wrong. They do. We have to look at dues when we look at how we structure our fees. Okay? They're too significant of a portion not to. All right? So we have to look at all these things when we go put the budget together. So let's talk about that. I brought up the reserve fund. Our reserve fund is in an investment portfolio, and policy dictates how that reserve fund is managed. So FI12 is our investment of association funds policy. And in that policy, it states that the investments are managed by a professional advisory firm. That firm is Cap Trust. Cap Trust was selected by a subcommittee of the BNF, and since it was selected, it's been approved 9-0 by budget and finance committees and governing boards since then. Okay? The goals and objectives for our fund are we want preservation of capital, liquidity, and rate of return. Okay? If those last two items, liquidity and rate of return, if we're looking to have that, we're going to have risk. Okay? We're going to have risk, especially with that last item, rate of return. So there is going to be some risk associated with our reserve fund and how we manage it. The investment instruments are selected based on the policy guidelines, which are drawn up by the BNF committee and approved by the governing board. And then finally, our investment strategy is a 3 to 5 year prospectus. Okay? We can't take out one little section of time and determine how our investments are doing based on that. Everybody knows that. Okay? So when we look at our investment prospectus, we want to make sure that we're on track to do what the prospectus says it's going to do. Okay? So let's take a look at that reserve fund performance since 2019. So this is the down in the capital section. So this is where we record our performance of our reserve fund. It doesn't say how much we have in the reserve fund. It says how are we doing on what we have in the reserve fund. Since 2019, we are plus 3.9 million in performance in our reserve fund. Okay, again, we could pick out one section of time in here and talk and base that on how our reserve fund is doing. But overall, for the last 5 years, we've been doing the right thing. There is an outlier in 2022. We all know that. Okay, that happened in the market. Historical bond reduction happened in the market, and we're dealing with that now. But you can see in the investment income of the reserves through December, we've had $624,000 in investment income. Folks, that's going to continue. We're going to make up that $3 million just in investment income through the prospectus of this of our current reserve fund. All right? So it's doing what it's intended to do. We're not going to get there the way we wanted to, but we're going to get there. So what is the reserve fund used for? I talked about it earlier. We use it for capital improvements. So these are for repair and replacement on the reserve fund and for our new capital projects. We've spent $35 million in capital improvements since 2019 with that reserve fund. $35 million. That is significant. That's why this place looks so nice. That's why people are knocking the door down to get in here, because we keep this place up. This reserve fund is how we do it. So let's look at the reserve fund balance. We've talked about the performance. We've talked about what we use or what we spend that money for, $35 million. The beginning balance in 2019 was $22.7 million. The balance as of December 2023 is $27.9 million. We've grown the reserve fund roughly $2.2 million after spending $35 million in capital improvements since 2019. This governing board, the governing boards before, the GMs before, the operating staff, the community should be really proud of that. And again, our policy on the reserve fund is that it be at least 40% of the fully funded balance. We're currently at 49%. Bill?
And again, from financial stability, you've heard me say we're in a good spot. We are. Sun City West is a wonderful community doing the things I think that the governing board via policy has implemented, and it's carrying this place to a very, very good spot in the state of Arizona and in the nation. I think you all should be very, very proud of living here, as proud as I am as the team we've assembled to making sure this all gets taken care of. And again, I think the highlight in form of a summary, I think Cliff touched on it once or twice, but 5 years ago we had 22 million in the bank, and we put 35 million into this place. It's beautiful. It turns around. We are probably the best golf community in the state of Arizona, easily, and we rank very high nationally. But it's those investments that we make that other communities don't, whether it's turning asphalt over, right? Who does parking lots on a regular basis? Well, we do. And roofs, and roof repair, and things that tend to go unlooked, or overlooked, I should say. But the tool that Mr. Finelli and the finance team has put together and assembled is a working document that's going to cover us for the next 30 years, 40 years. We can tell you today when air conditioners will go out 15 years from now, and they're funded. It's a great spot to be in. Great spot. 35 million in, 22 million 5 years ago. We're at 28 million in the bank now. Those are all very, very good numbers. Oop, going the wrong way. James Riley's not here today. He's a little ill. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our CC&Rs and membership. But the membership team does very, very well. But As far as the carpet into our administrative office, I'm not sure how that withstands what it does. Russ does a good job with flooring, but we're busy. 16,000 walk-ins as far as folks coming in paying their dues, right? And as the internet increases and we try to make this as easy as possible for people to not have to come in, they can pay their dues from wherever they're at. 2,200 of those folks take advantage of that. So that's working its way up, but I think there is a lot of education. There's a lot of learning that still has to go on. There are a lot of people over 75 years old that really, their grandkids can work a computer a lot better than they can. We can all attest to that. And so it just comes with time, but, we will definitely get there. And on a positive note, I think you're going to look at some APF fees that Cliff was talking about. We've got 504 collected to date, which is very, very good, but we'll flash a little bit of a picture on there so you can see the blue lines on the graph are this year's numbers. So you can kind of see we're kind of outdoing the last couple of years when the APFs are coming through. So as far as home sales go, but I think there's one thing we want to talk about is as you watch television, and whether it's cable TV, you read magazines and whatnot, you don't see much advertising for Sun City West. This place sells itself. I don't know what this place would do if we actually advertised, right? But we turn homes over. And this place is 40 plus years old, looks new. And there is just a lot of people still wanting to come in here and take advantage of all the amenities that we provide because they do look new. And it's a good spot. So we've took back the CC&R scenario as far as that goes. Poro was operating it for years. We took that over about 4 years ago and have basically kind of work that into a kind of a team with our membership folks, because there is a lot of similar interactions that go into this, but this is their offices now located on the R.H. Johnson campus. But primarily, our staff over there deals with a lot of phone calls, a lot of issues when it comes to property, what their neighbors are doing and not doing, two-story construction, parking of boats in yards, those types of things. We get a lot of calls. We get a lot of issues being brought to us as far as what you can and cannot do on your property, a lot of walk-in traffic, and a lot of inspections. So when we took the department over several years ago, we had over 400 open cases as far as complaints and issues go with property, and we've got that down to about 30 active right now. And the vast majority of those, as far as the stages go, 14 open cases in stage 1, and that basically relates to, on the other pie chart graph, a lot of issues relative to landscaping. And so there are a lot of snowbirds that live here, go about, do their thing. They leave their homes, and their yards can kind of get a little overgrown at times. So we're dealing with that kind of issue, but that's primarily what we're dealing with now. And there's only 5 issues that basically are at stage 5, which is where you place a lien on a property. We have to go in and take care of the home due to the fact that someone may have passed away, and just not keeping up with the house. We kind of take care of that and deal with that when the property does change hands. So it's soup to nuts really as far as some of the issues that we deal with when it comes to CC&Rs and people behaving appropriately and abiding by their rules, whether they've got their own little HOA pocket or they're underneath the big blanket of the rec centers. But it's a very good department, and they're doing wonderful things. Recently, we picked up a software package regarding real estate data solutions, which basically helps us find property that has changed hands. Some folks acquire property not through a realtor, and as far as the Maricopa County and processing paperwork as far as home ownership goes, people can inherit a property or they can buy it from neighbors or friends, just things turning over that we don't really know about. A few years could go by and the owners, whether they're in state or out of state, don't really realize that there are membership dues that come with living here, that if they don't live here, those dues are going unpaid. And so 3 years can go by, and then we're meeting these homeowners for the first time, and they're not happy. When you tell them, oh, by the way, you owe us 3 years of dues and an APF statement and those kinds of things. But this allows us to catch that pretty early, and we get our money in the bank sooner. So this is the terrific program that the CC&R team and Deb Long are kind of working on a daily basis, but since the inception of this a few years ago, it's put over $2 million in the bank as far as uncollected dues that would have never been picked up on really without this software program working with us in Maricopa County to pick that up. So this is a real, a huge asset for us, and something that, you know, kind of goes overlooked at times, but I just want to say that the CC&R and membership team really does a bang-up job for us, making sure that the dues are collected and you all are being taken care of. So just kudos to them. This is a little bit of a busy slide, but this is kind of what it's like in my world every day, just kind of walking around in circles trying to figure everything out. But IT, we hear a lot of things about what we can and cannot do with IT, but I think after this presentation from Katie, I think you're going to see that Sun City West is out on the forefront as far as what we provide.
All right, thanks. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate this opportunity. So we're going to kind of break IT up into a few different areas: the infrastructure, the equipment, the employees, the training, just to kind of get an understanding of the scope of what we deal with here. And much like the rest of Sun City West, the rec centers, our IT truly is state-of-the-art from the infrastructure on down. I don't think I have a desktop PC older than 2019, and all the critical ones are 2021, 22. Our servers are even newer. So talking about infrastructure, it is the envy of the other communities in the Northwest Valley. We've recently updated our wide area network to this SD-WAN. It's in the cloud now. It's got redundancies. It's got a failover to a cellular backup. So that has been tremendous. Our downtime has almost been eliminated. Now, if you hear that something's down, it's not the network. It's usually, I hate to say it, it's usually user error. Our infrastructure is, like I said, the envy of the other communities. So with that structure in place, we're going to be able to migrate our telephones onto that same structure. We're going to be able to get rid of some of those T1s from Cox and save a lot of money just because we have that in place and can roll that over. Our main server, the SQL server, which is what TEI, you hear that a lot, TEI, TEG, that server is brand new. The SQL licensing, thanks to the governing board, is brand new. So we just went through a huge upgrade with that. It's going to last us well into the future. All of our credit card machines are the latest and greatest, and we kind of picked the bigger one for our demographics, easier to see the screen and touch the buttons. So we take that into consideration anytime we're upgrading our hardware. You might notice in the DRC, those keyboards are the high visibility keyboards, that sort of thing. Fiber network, that was maybe a year ago. We finished installing network to all the maintenance yards. So pro shops, they've been done for a while, but Echo was the only one that had fiber to the maintenance yard because that's where the main office was. They had a lot more going on there. But now technology is everywhere, and it was an opportunity and a need to throw fiber out to those other 6 maintenance yards because even those guys use TEI. Believe it or not, TEI is everywhere. Todd's guys might look at the T-sheet to find out when they've got a slow period, when they can get out there and do some of their work on the back end. So they are up to speed as well on that. It also allowed his Rainbird software to be fully integrated so they can sit at home and change those sprinklers with their cell phones. We didn't have that until we got that finished about a year ago. As you see Wired throughout the community coming in here offering home network, that's put some pressure on Cox, so they have upgraded all their circuits as well. That, you know, they cut a line, that's no bueno, but it does offer us this opportunity. They upgraded all of our circuits free of cost to us, so you'll see Wi-Fi and things like that picking up. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to be remodeling the public Wi-Fi at R.H. Johnson. The usage there is so great that we ended up adding subnets, which if you get it, you get it. If not, it doesn't matter. But basically, as mobile technology has changed, it's caused some issues. We're going to break that down again, change it. Shouldn't notice a whole lot except for a couple hours that afternoon. But we're constantly changing and upgrading to meet these needs. Phone system upgrades, voicemail upgrades. We're on the latest programs with that as well. And this will kind of give you an idea of the complexity of our network. And this is truly just TEI. It's not even the network. So it shows you every location. We've got 11 distinct campuses, and that doesn't break it down to, like, I'm considering RHJ as one campus, you know, not including the library, sports pavilion, et cetera. So 11 distinct campuses with a variety of end users. It may be a manager with back office, it may be a front-end POS user, it may be a volunteer who has limited access to the POS, or like I said, those maintenance yards guys just looking at the T-sheet. So they all have different security access, they all have different roles. The credit card machine may be set up differently for all of those. And in the case of Brunswick, they've got their own credit card machine that is completely standalone. We provide some of the infrastructure, but that's not even included in this diagram. But I just want to give you an idea of how complex it is, the different payment methods we can use at all those. And those are not limitations, that is by design. That is almost everything we do that someone might look at and say, why do they do it that way? Or is that a limitation? It's usually a procedural decision based on the personnel, based on the manager's call, not a software or hardware limitation. So then let's talk about the facility and room infrastructure. Every time a room is remodeled, a new staffer comes in place, anything like that happens, we're in there right behind Carl and Russ, remodeling, putting in new phones or changing the location, putting in new infrastructure for those. So that keeps us extremely busy. Software, whole nother beast, but we could not be, again, more up to date on our software. Follett was recently migrated to the SCOA Bywater for the library. If you've seen that and used it, super user-friendly, whole new scale down there. EMS is now in the cloud. That's the scheduling software that Casey's team uses. And now the facility leads can access those reports and those reservations to keep them up to speed with the latest changes in the room reservations. We took all of our inventory out of all the golf shops, cleaned it all up and re-imported it. That had to be done because of, again, some procedural changes that created some errors and cost of goods, that sort of thing. So that has been cleaned up. We're constantly doing things like the new Teams, the new Outlook. We'll upgrade those when the time's ready. We're not the first people to opt into a new Microsoft update, unless it's a security patch. Because there's a learning curve. So IT will adopt it first, we'll get to know it and understand it, we'll put together training where necessary, and sometimes the training is different in different departments, and sometimes we'll suppress that rollout in certain departments if it's not something they need to use or could use. So everything is customized across those 11 campuses and user groups, but pretty much all of our software is also up to date. Not pretty much, it 100% is. And then we're constantly doing things like reviewing the TEI security rules, user groups, onboarding, offboarding. Did someone need elevated or reduced security roles into this software? That is ongoing all the time. So I want to talk about TEI, TEG, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of the big dog in the room because it is our major software program. We adopted this 13 years ago, I think. And at the time, we needed a membership software and a golf software. So we built that, custom built it for our needs. From the get-go, there is no other software out there that will do this because we are a per-person billing association. Every other property management system out there you're going to find, for the most part, is going to be a per-property billing. We are per person. So we're different from the get-go. That can be customized, not a big deal. But those differences begin to roll out as we go on. So when we did go out to this, we wanted to have a facility check-in. We wanted to be able to check in everybody at the recreation centers and have that tied to their membership account, because that's where it all starts. So they built that. So those three components, membership, facilities, and golf, were customized, built for us. The other biggest component is the golf lottery. There is nobody else out there that has a multi-course lottery that is as customized as ours is. The closest thing would be this one that Sun City Grand is using, and even their lottery is not yet integrated. So we're keeping an eye on that, watching it. We're always looking for alternatives. But if we don't have a lottery, I think 100% of the golfers out there are going to say it's a no-go. So we have gone with these guys and we have customized it, and there's a lot of advantages to having this company. When we started with them, they were a smaller company, pretty well renowned, but they customized all the things we needed, built it to scope the way we wanted. They are now a multinational company. Their latest installment they're enrolling is in Dubai. So this is a good thing. They've got more resources. They're growing. But our ability to get development has slowed down because they're now on a quarterly development schedule. So before we might say, hey, can you do this? They'd get it done because we were one of their biggest customers. Now we get in line because they are like I said, a huge company with a regular, more traditional development schedule. I know you can't read this, it's online if you want to read it later, but it is just a small sampling of some of the customization that we have done with TEI. Some of it's been very, very good, down to how many rounds of golf did I play? I want that to print on every receipt. Some of it has been maybe pushed from one department without consideration for the other department, and a lot of times those decisions did not come through IT. IT is one of the few in accounting now that has their eye on facilities, golf, and membership. But in the past, if we had one department saying, we want this change, that change was implemented against our protest, it negatively affected other departments. So we're bringing that back, cleaning that up, but you'll see so many of these changes that have, like I said, some have been good, but some we had to roll back. And if there is something that we don't do or can't do, or why do we do it that way, it's because the managers wanted it that way, there's a procedure that wants it that way, or we just don't have the personnel ability to do those kinds of things. One quick example, and this is just a fun one. When COVID happened, TEI said, we've already got prepay for golf in place. If you want to do that, they can pay on their phones in the parking lot, come in, no touch, COVID free. And we procedurally said no. We didn't want to prepay because we have too many cancellations for health issues or other issues, and the pro shops didn't want to deal with the refunds. Totally understandable. But again, it's not a we can't or we won't. It was a conscious decision not to do that. And so that's where all of our managers work together to decide what we're going to roll out and not roll out. So before we run out and decide we don't like TEI, we're going to throw it away and get a whole new system, let's understand why it is how it is, what the alternatives are, and understand just how robust and powerful this software truly is. These guys are fantastic in terms of responsiveness. This is just some of the integrations they've done with the library, with the university tickets that Casey uses, Golf Now, the e-range system, U-Schedule, multi-card for the ID cards, which the HR department uses. So it's totally robust and flexible. The only one you won't see up here is Brunswick, and that is per Brunswick. They will not let us touch their stuff. They will not let TEI touch it. TEI has offered, and Brunswick says, you touch our stuff, you invalidate our warranty. So hands off over there, but everywhere else that we can integrate, we have done so. One other sore point, this one's in there for you, Tim. So I know our lottery has been a sore point. It's a problem over in Sun City as well that uses TEI. And that's because any given day, thousands of emails attempt to get sent all at once after the lottery runs. An email system will see that and say, you're a spammer because your emails all have the same content, you're doing them all at the same time to a bunch of people, we're going to block you. And so Cox or Spectrum will block you for 24 hours. So as of the 11th, we went ahead and migrated that to SendGrid. So took it off of TEI, put it on a program that we've got and are working with, and I've got a 99.93% success rate in lottery emails going out. So we'll keep an eye on this. It doesn't say that we won't get marked as a spammer, but we've got visibility and insight. We don't like to do these kind of things and take them back because I have a very small staff. But when it's critical and it's not something we can address otherwise, we do pull that back in-house. So one of the other big components is employee training. We do have a certain demographic here, that's part of it. And we also have a lot of part-timers. So that's great, you can get a lot of minimum wage employees, but they may work 2 days a week. And by the time they come back, they forget this, or they don't do refunds very often at certain locations. So again, the system's not down, it's not broken, it's maybe a training issue, trying to remember those things we don't do very often. Club Track, and I'm not even going to go into that, 99.9% of those are also a training thing that we need to get up to speed on. So that'll give you just an idea of some of what we're trying to do on here. Staff-wise, in 2023, my staff handled over 2,000 tickets. So if it's not a ticket, IT doesn't know about it. If you catch me in the hallway, if I hear it secondhand at a meeting, if it doesn't get turned into a ticket by a manager or a board member or even my staff, it just doesn't exist. That's how we manage things. That's how we track them. That's how historically I can go back 10 years from now and say, why did that happen and how is that affecting what's happening today in the system? That happens all the time. Additionally, IT is a young person's job for the most part. We'll hire whoever comes in with a talent and can do the job, absolutely, but we tend to get the younger folks. And based on the wages we're paying, they want to come in, they want to get their experience, and they want to move on to a better job. And who can blame them, right? And in IT, they're going to specialize in certain areas, whether it's cybersecurity or infrastructure or any of those. Here, we tend to have generalists because we're not big enough to break it down, and the variety of what they're doing requires them to be generalists. And so we do most of that training in-house. One of the things I hear from some of these young guys is, that's not an IT issue. Everybody knows how to do mail merge, or everybody knows how to change their Outlook signature. Here it's a training issue and it's an IT issue, which is fine, but it's a realism we need to understand. So I get young employees that may be here for a couple years. We can train them for our environment and it works great. But on something like that TEI, where it's multi-integrated across departments with different users, and it is so complex by design, it is very difficult to get the longevity to train in that area. So you'll see some of that. It may be why some things take a little longer to troubleshoot, because there's very few of us on staff that understand it when it gets past tier 2, tier 3. And as a reminder, we're a 365-day-a-year business, 7 days a week, 24 hours in those 11 campuses. And truly, I have 5 people, 3 help desks, 1 help desk lead, and my network admin. So I am very hands-on myself. Throw me in there, fine. And then I have 2 PR media people who also help with IT. So when we rolled out the member portal and those snowbirds come back and they forgot their password, someone has to help them. So that now became an IT role. I didn't have the manpower, so I pulled PR in. When COVID happened and we had to go online and do these meetings we're doing today, PR came in. That is now a PR IT role. So I'm using everybody I can because IT is everybody's problem. And in other environments, the end users may come in with those abilities. Here we're handling it in-house. And so kudos to the 25, 26 people who are watching online. We love to see that. We know there's going to be a couple hundred more that watch us in review. And yes, we will post this online after the fact. One other reminder, because I do PR, this is the governing board election schedule. Wednesday, March 13th is the deadline to make sure we have your email address on file if you want to vote online. Because we are a per-person association, per-person vote, everyone has to have their own unique email address. Spouses cannot share. The ballots weren't broken, you just didn't have separate emails on file. So be aware of these. Again, these will be online. We're going to launch our election webpage on Thursday. And one other friendly reminder, if you're seeing stuff on other social media, if you're hearing from so-called experts about the rec centers on other social media, we're on our social media. We're on the rec center social media. We put our news out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So even something that said, if you get the e-news, you're registered to vote. Not true. Make sure you're getting your news from us. If you're not sure, you have a question, reach out to us. Facebook, e-news, website, member comment forum. We will answer your questions. We'll give you the documentation you need. But just make sure you're getting your information from us. If it's not on our webpage, it's not from the rec centers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. That was a commercial break, by the way. Right on. Very, very good. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about water. 5 years ago, when this job was open, I spent, prior to any kind of interview, I spent a good portion of a week down talking to Arizona Department of Water Resources, right? Water in Arizona is gold. We all know that. I've got 30 years experience in government, managing golf courses, parks and recreations, smaller cities, that type of thing. Water is key in this state. And again, I'm kind of being repetitive, but Sun City West is in another good spot when it comes to water. Oop. So, how does water and Mother Nature play into what we do? This is a very important subject, and I think we'll get into this a little bit. But when we have storms, that basically fills the ground with water, right? And that's where we get all the water that we use on our golf courses to make sure they look as good as they do. And when Mother Nature comes to play, she runs the tee sheet. We think the lottery does or that type of thing. It's Mother Nature that takes care of that. In the wintertime, when these tee sheets are full, we lose about $50,000 a day every day it rains. Good for the aqua belt, good for putting water in the ground, not so good for the revenue team on this side, right? So that's how this thing works. And when it comes to water, ADWR, Arizona Department of Water Resources, is the ruling beast here in the state of Arizona when it comes to water. So all of the water that we throw on our golf courses comes from the ground. We own wells. They're about 1,000 feet deep, and we're pumping from, I don't know, the 400 to 500 foot level. And we're throwing thousands and thousands of gallons of water there that we own. We have rights to that water in perpetuity. And I think when we get done with this presentation, I think you'll learn a little bit more of what we've got. But the state of Arizona has an overall plan when it comes to how much water people can throw. And as time has progressed and the drought continues and the state of Arizona looks at who's throwing water, who's moving in, they have a housing economy they want to preserve. And so they want to make sure that they've got a water supply that's going to carry them into the future. And so do we. And so moving into this direction, there's a phrase that you're going to hear, and it's called acre feet of water. And the state of Arizona regulates how many acre feet of water you can throw annually, or else you pay a serious fine. And so we manage what we've got. A new game that has come out now with the Department of Water Resources is they now limit us to how much turf we can have on a golf course. So Grandview, for instance, was about 140 to 160 acres of grass a year ago. Not anymore. Golf courses now are limited to 90 acres of turf. Is how much water, how much turf you can actually irrigate. If you're an older golf course, if you're a brand new golf course, a new subdivision coming into town, you are limited in space because they want to limit how much water you have to throw. Other golf courses around this community have courses that have over 200 acres that they have to eliminate to get down to 90 acres of turf. It's a challenge, and we've been dealing with that now for the last couple of years. Grandview was our first step in that process, and now we're in the planning stage, and we're going to tackle Echo Mesa as we move forward into this year's budget moving forward. So when it comes to water usage, we're going to give you a little lesson in acre feet, but we're going to explain to you really how well off we are. And so again, we have allocated rights. We're going to have those rights not reduced per se, but the amount of water we can throw will be reduced. But there's going to be a gap there from what we're actually allocated to what we're actually can use. And what do we do with those extra acre feet of water in the future is a decision, a policy that the governing board is going to have to deal with, but it's worth millions of dollars. We currently lease water, excess water that we don't throw to Briarwood currently, and they pay us annually as to how much water they need. But they too have to reduce turf. So they're going to need less and less water over time, but we're contractually in them to I believe, to 2038. But there's going to be extra acre feet of water that we could potentially lease to a subdivision, lease to a golf course down the road. And talking to the right water attorney, I think Sun City West has an opportunity for millions. And so Todd, Patty, he's been here, I don't even want to, 35, 32 years taking care of these golf courses, and this man's the reason they look the way they do.
All right, thank you, Bill, and good morning. Just want to go over a few things pertaining to what Bill was talking about, water conservation. And I can tell you on the golf maintenance side that we take it very serious. And everything that we do, our maintenance programs are really geared towards water conservation, whether it's how we aerify, how we mow, the training of our employees, how much water we put out on the golf course. And so I think when you see the numbers here in a minute, you'll see that all of our efforts are paying off. So anyway, this chart here, it's a comparison between 22 and 23 water usage. And you can see in the first part of the, from January up to May, we were really doing good. We had some rainfall that really helped out. And then the bottom kind of dropped out in June through December. You can see we used quite a bit more water, a lot more water than we did in 2022. And that's because we had one of the driest monsoons on record during the summer. And then also we set some records as far as heat over the summer. So we ended up under our allotment this year by a little bit, which I think is very impressive, considering we were in the we started the fourth management plan, which was a reduction of allotments, and then having that type of weather over the summer. So I credit our staff with that. You know, they too understand the importance of conserving water on the golf courses, and we train them, and so hats off to them. All right, so the Arizona Department of Water Resources, which Bill was talking about, we're currently in the fourth management plan. We have a new allotment, and this is for all 7 golf courses for 3897 acre feet per year. That's a reduction of 21 acre feet, so not too bad. And then in the fifth management plan, which they roll out in the year 2025, another reduction of 34 acre feet. So I'd like to touch a little bit on the Echo Mesa irrigation project. We're currently in phase 1. Well, the slides were a little bit backwards. This is a 15-year water usage. And you can see the green highlighted areas or blocks are years that we were under our allotment. You can see in 2013, we've been under our allotment for the past 11 years in a row, which again, I think is very impressive. If you look at the rainfall that we had in 2013, 3.72. I think that was very impressive. On this chart, just some fun facts, 15-year water usage, average was 3817 acre feet, and then the average rainfall for this time period, this 15 years, was 6.36. All right, let's talk about the Echo Mesa project. We've budgeted $5,050,000 for this project. Cost per acre is about $50,000. Now this is identical or similar to the project that we did over at Grandview last year. We did have an increase, or we're seeing some increases of 12 to 15% irrigation material. This includes a new distribution station, installation of our road crossing main lines, and transfer line connection to the other golf courses. And then on the turf reduction side, 18 acres are scheduled for removal. Over at Grandview, we had a total of 45 acres that we removed over there for about 150 acre feet of water savings. And then a 14-foot perimeter on average at Echo Mesa. It was a little bit more in the lines of 20 feet over at Grandview. And then street fronts and road crossings will also be part of this. And then our desert landscape plan, we're looking at about 2,000 plants versus the 6,700 that we had over at Grandview. And then 60 trees. We had upwards of 280 trees over at the Grandview project. So again, it's a very similar, identical project at Echo Mesa this year, just scaled back quite a bit. And then the phase 1 that we're currently in right now, you can, just an update on that. The irrigation design plan has been completed, turf reduction and pump station design are all completed, along with the GPS mapping. So we have the engineering drawing completion date at the end of the month, and then submit design plans and documents for the bidding process is set for January 25th. And then the project timeline, this has changed a little bit, but some areas I'd like to point out. November, we're looking at having public forums, again, just like what we did over at Grandview. And then another second public forum in February of 2025. Project start date is scheduled for the 7th of April. The entire golf course will be closed at that time. As you remember, over at Grandview, we closed just 9 holes. We kept 9 holes open with the golf lab, the crooked putter, and the pro shop driving range and the putting green. We decided just to close everything down when we do the Echo Mesa project. Project completion date, we're looking at August 29th, and then the golf course will reopen October 24th of 2025. And just our long-range plan for water conservation, of course, we've knocked Grandview out, and I mentioned 150 acre feet of water savings. Echo Mesa, we're looking at 60 acre feet of water savings when the project is all completed. Stardust in 2027, we're looking anywhere between 6 and 10 acres for about 33 acre feet. Pebblebrook, we'll round that out in 2029, and for annual water savings of about 62 acre feet. So we're looking at about a little over 300 acre feet of water savings when we finish this up in 2029. And that's about enough water to water a golf course similar to Trail Ridge. And then I put this up here, the summer closure and projects starting 2024. We're closed at Pebblebrook and Stardust. We have a few things we'd like to do over there. But the rest of the projects are really geared towards water conservation. Trail Ridge, we're going to do some hardscape like the riprap or the block wall over on number 3. Echo Mesa is the irrigation project that I just talked about. 2026 Deer Valley, we have some shoreline work that we'd like to do, as well as desert trails. And then we'll do the phase 1 of the project, the irrigation project for Stardust in 2026, and then we actually do the project in 27. Grandview will be closed again in 27, and then 28, we have some more shoreline projects, and then the Pebblebrook irrigation project, phase 1 will start, and then we'll do the actual project in 2029. So I'm going to turn this back over to Bill. He can talk about EPCOR and some of the water issues with that.
Thank you, Todd. And just to summarize a little bit, the water that comes out of the ground really doesn't cost us anything. We own those water rights. We've paid for those water rights. We pay for the electricity to get it out of the ground and to spread around our golf courses. That's huge. Managing other golf courses, municipal golf courses that use potable water, their water bill on an average year, probably $500,000 to $600,000 a year in water. And so you can see the value of acre feet. And that'll all come into play, I think, once we do some analysis, get the other courses designed correctly, get them down to 90 acres, and then Todd can basically do some more averaging as far as how many acre feet we're actually throwing, what we do with that balance. That's a long-term plan, but certainly something to think about. So potable water is a different story, right? That comes from EPCOR, and we do, just like you at your house, have a water bill. And so EPCOR does get their water out of the ground, but they also use Central Arizona Project. They have other stored water. They use reclaimed water from municipal governments coming back to them and whatnot to get to their water supply. And that's basically that's their package as far as what they're selling back to the consumer. But when it comes to water conservation, there's a couple of areas within the walls of Sun City West that we really need to think about. And converting turf to synthetic grass is a concept that we already use. The infield at the softball field is a synthetic infield, not dirt, has a natural grass outfield. But converting that outfield to a synthetic surface down the road could be a viable option to help us save a little money and basically save water, because that's what EPCOR is all about. And when it comes to potable water in the state of Arizona, that's a goal. Las Vegas and Southern Nevada basically pay people to take grass out of their yards. Arizona's not there yet, but probably in the years to come it will be. So there may be grants available to us to take some turf out, take out some acreage in our system to convert to synthetic grass. And there's also Tiftuff, which is a new Australian type grass coming out of that country that's being now grown in Southern California and Arizona and Texas. That is drought-resistant grass that you only have to water once a week. Sun City put some on a golf course, Scottsdale, McCormick Ranch. Where else are we going? Palm Valley are a couple of golf courses that have experimented with it. I've seen it on the ground in the wintertime on a golf course in Sun City. It's horrible. Not anything we really, I think, want to do at this point in time, but we'll do a little bit more studying on that. But it could be beneficial in pockets of areas for landscaping, for instance, around recreation centers. If we don't want to go synthetic there, if you want to use a little bit more of a drought resistance turf, it stays green year round, relatively. But again, other options exist. And so we're just kind of studying those. But these are some areas that we're currently throwing potable water, which kind of increases our water bill, and some areas that we kind of want to take a look at as far as conversions go. The lawn bowling facilities that we have here, I think we're in the process of contracting with the United States Lawn Bowl Group to come with a worldwide tournament in March. They don't have any restrictions as to whether it's on natural grass or synthetic. They'll play on either surface. The Grand has one field over on their campus that is a synthetic court. So if you want to go look at what one of those looks like synthetic wise, the bowlers over there seem to like it. It looks pretty good. It holds up well. Downside, it is expensive as far as the capital investment getting there, but long-term, low maintenance, but you do have replacements on turf. And then some of these pocket areas that I mentioned around recreation centers that we do have where we are growing natural grass, those potentially can be looked at as some cost-saving measures in the world of water conservation, and we're kind of studying that as well. So when it comes to potable water, that's the ticket right there. We're very aware of it, and we try to do whatever we can to keep our costs down and conserve water. I want to touch on chartered clubs a little bit. Again, I just want to talk about some of the things that we've kind of been hearing out in the general public when it comes to our staff who are recreationalists, as including myself, that somehow we don't like clubs. I mean, that's kind of far from the truth, but what has happened over the years is I think some interest in some particular clubs has waned. And more importantly, I think what we were experiencing were outside of the tax issue, these charter clubs are independent agencies. And what we were seeing was that the clubs were having more outside use than owner members. Several clubs, be it dance groups or others, were basically entertaining a lot of outside folks more so than owner members. And we are just fighting for space allocation. Who should be where? These clubs are, some are growing and some are condensing. But we want to be able to put the right people in the right room, but who are the people? And so if you're not an owner member, I'm not sure you really have rights to be in these rooms. They're not paying dues. Who are they? But we do what we can to negotiate and contract. There was a bridge playing group that had some outside folks that were coming in, and the revenues that they were bringing in exceeded what the revenues from the owner members were bringing in. And it became a bit of an issue. We didn't disband the group. We sat down, we worked with them. It's not like we don't like clubs, but we put together a package that was allowable based on the rules and the policies set forth by the association. And we have a rented contract with them, a room rental contract. Owner members wanted to continue to play bridge. We sat down, we listened to them, and we brought the program forward. It wasn't a cancellation. It's what can we do to help you? And that's what we're all about. And so, Casey, you're going to talk a little bit about where we are club-wise, the diversity that we have, and really, as far as any kind of dissolvement and that kind of thing, it's really more of a condensation of some of these clubs and bringing them into one if they're all kind of doing the similar things.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning. As you can see up here, about 2 years ago, we took all the clubs and we categorized them. We have felt moving forward that sometimes talking to all the clubs in one meeting really doesn't do us much justice because every club is different here. We'll go over it in a minute, but we do have 91 clubs here, but every single club is different, even within the same category. So if you look at arts and crafts, yes, they're arts and crafts, but artistic hand lettering is completely different than the metal shop. So we really have to make sure that we dissect that a little bit more and give everybody the opportunity and attention that they need. If you're wondering what the yellow is, those are all our 501c3s, just so you have that. But I do want to go over this past year. We did dissolve 3 clubs. Shuffleboard dissolved on their own. Porcelain Painters dissolved on their own, and Creative Silk Flowers dissolved on their own. Just as Bill touched earlier, these are some interests that have definitely lacked. All these clubs were brought to Sun City West in the 1980s. So we had noticed that their numbers were declining. It was brought to the attention with all the charter club committee meetings that we are really moving forward to see the best interest in Sun City West, and that includes the clubs. And then I just want to brief on the council. The Stardust Council did dissolve. We are going in a new direction, and they have been around since the 1980s as well, and they did a great job. But as Katie talked about earlier, technology is just a whole nother world, so we are taking that into another dimension. All right, so as I said earlier, we have 91 clubs. I just have them kind of categorized here, who's a 501c7 and who's a 501c3, just for your information. It's broken down based on that last chart you saw, just so you can understand how many clubs are in each category, and who's a 7, which is a social club, and who's a 3, who is a charitable club. I do have one club that is in the process of converting to a 3, so we're waiting from the IRS on that. And then I have one other club that is requesting. So that 501c3 may jump up to 2. There we go. Next is the RRMPs. If you are paying attention to our the Charter Club committee meetings, you will notice that this has been a very, very hot topic. It is in the draft process. Everything that the committee has presented is not concrete. Everything that we are following as far as the rules, regulations, and procedures, which is what the RRMPs are, is what we are using that was approved by the board in the spring of 2022. So it is posted on our website, and you can refer to that. However, the committee that is presenting the new RRMPs is doing a very thorough, good job. They've done a lot of research in the past with the sports clubs, with the craft clubs, and really helped kind of consolidate what the wants and needs of all the clubs are, as well as with Club Track. So there's been a lot of research involved. Again, 91 clubs of different interest, different utilization, whether they have a room that they share or if it's dedicated space. There's a lot of other considerations to take in. So this is a very big job for the committee and myself as we work together. Space allocation. So I kind of briefed on that just a second ago. There are 28 dedicated spaces to our clubs that we currently have. Metal shop, wood shop, clay club. Those are some dedicated spaces that you may be familiar with. But then we have, over at Kuntz, we have 3 rooms, Pueblo, Kiva, and Mesa room. Those are shared, but they have dedicated space for themselves as far as their operations are concerned. So that is something we have to take in effect. So as an example, Beaters, if you are familiar with who our Beaters are, they had their shared space over at Beardsley. They had 2 rooms, and we were able to work with them to consolidate them over to Kuntz, and now they are utilizing the Kiva room. So now they have 1 location. And then we have Bunko and Bridge. Bunko and Bridge, again, use shared space. Bunko came to us demanding more space. We researched for a good 1.5 years. This was not something that was decided overnight. This was something we used Club Track for. We used the staff over at Beardsley. They helped us with everything that we could get in our research. So Bunko moved it into a new location, which means I needed to find a new space for that bridge group. And it's the different bridge group that Bill is referring to. That was a little bit of a heartache for that bridge club, but I think with time we did find a new spot and day for them, so now they're happy now. But again, it does come with some heartbreak, and that's what makes the job very difficult. Another thing, club that came to us is Zymergy. Last fall, Zymergy came to me, we need more space. Well, we need more than we need more space. So we worked with them, Russ, myself, and Carl, met with Zymergy, went through their room, looked to see what do you use, what's being taken up in this room that you can actually use space for. So we worked with the president, did a fantastic job. She worked with us. We got them new storage. They're utilizing their space a little bit better. I'm not saying they're not growing, because they are growing still. But for the time being, because we are landlocked, we're also cabinet locked, storage locked, all that kind of stuff. So we do work with clubs very independently. Again, another club that came to us was Fused Glass. Fused Glass is a club we couldn't help. They have, if you've never been in there, it's at Beardsley. They have kilns in the middle of the room and then in the back of the perimeter. So it's taking up space for them to actually work. So with the dissolution of porcelain painters, we were able to create a classroom out of that room and give them more space and opportunity. So there's a lot of components to take into consideration when we look at space allocation, and we're still working on that. I have multiple clubs right now. We need more space, so we work with them very closely and independently. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we're nearing the end of the program, but I do want to introduce Carl Wilhelm. I know you probably all know him, but since July, he has been ridiculously busy. Not that he's not year-round, but he managed to take care of the capital program issues that we had leading from July to December, and he knocked out a bunch of them, and we couldn't be more proud of the photos he's going to share with you.
Good morning, everyone. As Bill mentioned, in the 6 budgets since 2017, this is pretty much an unprecedented year. It had a lot of factors in how much of the governing board's approved budget of capital that got accomplished between July and December. And first of all, I thank them for their support for approving that budget. We did projects this year that were probably in a different year would have been scheduled a little bit broader over the 2 secular seasons that we have. We have a summer season when the budget starts in July, and we try to get things wrapped up around October, and then we hold off with the best that we can, and we try to do another season starting in May and close out the year by July 1st again. This year we had a handful of projects throughout the community that were influenced by Grandview's golf and turf irrigation program, weather, people groups' interest, our clubs that were really interested in getting it done now sooner than later. And I'm always interested in some of our largest capital projects getting done right away so that we're not hit by the factors of almost a year's wait on inflationary factors. So some of the photos that I'm proud to show, and hopefully you've all had the opportunity to walk these grounds, but we've had the R.A. Johnson pool deck resurface, and with the new rubber decking, this is a second place that we've done this. Kuntz was the first. We are planning on doing that program with an approved budget in 24-25 for Palm Ridge as well, both on the outdoor and indoor pools. We got the year rolling, the ball rolling, no pun intended, but the sports pavilion had some factors with its old lanes. The lanes were 20 plus years old. We had some lanes that were, the joints were delaminating and causing the play to be irregular. So the project for replacement of all lanes and ball return machines was done this year. With any project, sometimes you have circumstances that create other areas that get affected. In this case, the bowling alley, we ended up doing the flooring in front of the lanes a season earlier. They would have been done in 24-25, but timing and closure and efficiency, we moved that up. It was a very successful project. You can see here in these photos, and the sports pavilion is in great condition. The year previous, we did the screens and telemonitors for bowlers to actually sign up and get their scores. All the TV displays. We have a project there yet this year of the upgrade in the sound system, and couldn't be more proud on how this turned out and successful. You can see some of the new areas of flooring. Construction comes with damage sometimes. You will experience that all of the heavy pallets and amount of product coming into that building. We actually even had moments where a pallet hit one of our electronic doors and damaged a door. The vendor fully paid for that repair. But to try to get a whole new bowling alley flooring system in there and through those couple little doors, it's a logistical task that we all have to be very aware of when that, you know, you just have side effects of projects. So we did some new lobby carpeting and LVT. Our pavement program was very strong this year. A couple of components about our paving program. All of our lots are average between 22 and 42 years old. A majority of them in the 30 to 40 years old. Over the years, best choices to maintain our lots were made. In some cases, some of our parking lots were 100% original. In some cases, our parking lots were, the sub-level was original, and we had maybe small overlays for whatever reasons, budgetarily or whatnot, best practice at the time. But our parking lots over the last 5 years have definitely aged out. And once you do other opportunities like an overlay, you can't do it again. So we have been working this parking lot project for the last 3 years. And we have basically, between all the golf courses and all of our rec centers, Desert Trails and Stardust are the last 2 remaining parking lots that are aged or near original. So it was a very busy season. We took advantage of the weather. It was a dry season. We got a lot of work done. We didn't have the impacts from the monsoons that I might lose a lot of sleep over in past years in scheduling. So it was very successful. We didn't have the impacts of soil stabilization that I share in the budget process and the information gathering that I give to all the committees. So throughout the season, we did 4 parking lots that were full mill and replacement. R.H. Johnson's Lot 3, the Beardsley Arts and Crafts parking lot, Grandview's Golf Course, and Trail Ridge's Golf Course pro shops. We did 6 parking lot seal coats and stripe. R.H. Johnson's Lots 1 and 2, Kuntz, the Metal Shop, Deer Valley, and Stardust. When you experience the capital program where we tear out a parking lot, the following season, within 18 months, we have to do an additional seal coat. So, for example, this next summer, you'll see Lot 3 right in front of admin and the social hall. That'll get all recoated with its first seal coat of oils and then restriped. And a lot of folks, they'll say, didn't you just do this work? This is what preserves that parking lot for the next 30 plus years. So once that's done after the 12 to 18 month period, then we go on to a program of approximately every 4 years until that parking lot becomes 10 to 15 years old, and then we go on to an every 3-year program. And this is what keeps our parking lots looking like Fry's or Bashas. I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but we do our due diligence so that we do get 40 years out of these parking lots. And I think we should all be really proud of that and the fact that we approve these programs. You'll see Beardsley Arts and Crafts, very successful. The aquatics lot was done 8 or 9 years ago. Grandview was an opportunity to get it done during the closure. And Trail Ridge was in really, really poor shape and brought up by multiple community members. Is this on the program? We moved it up 1 year earlier and got it done. And this was, as most pro shops were done, during an aerification closure or an overseating closure. So the window's tight, we got no room for air, but we made it happen this last season. Another project that kind of ground itself out throughout the summer for multiple circumstances was our approved project for the bocce court replacement. I'm really happy to say that the bocce community is very pleased with the final results. Yes, it took a long time. There was a lot of factors involved. The timing on getting turf from a manufacturer in Georgia that was impacted by weather, hurricanes, humidity, and timelines don't always work out the best from the good intentions of scheduling that's given to a project manager like myself in the beginning. So we made the choice to move forward, get this project 100% ready and prepped well in advance of knowing exactly when that carpet was going to come. Had a few more delays in that turf schedule due to problems in running it through the mill, but ultimately this project ended up quite beautiful. The courts were in overall really great shape. In fact, I think the bocce community was really concerned that I was going to have to tear out concrete and re-level these courts. Believe it or not, once we took that old turf out and the wear and tear from dropping balls and throwing the balls and walking, it was really just a matter of aged turf. We had a couple of rain events after doing all this grinding and prep work, and the water scattered perfectly. It pooled perfectly, exactly where it should. So we had no tilt, we had no crazy runoff, and I think everybody's had to kind of redo their game, in fact. So some of the Sun City West players, they probably had their little natural curve figured out in their game, and now it's all new. Our mid-year results, as I show you some of these slides, the governing board approved a $3.1 million budget, and with 95%, I think I have 4 major projects to go. Actually, they're pretty small. We have $305,000 in savings. So we have not gone over budget in the capital department. Very proud of that. And I'm proud that that continues the record for now 6 consecutive years that we've never gone over budget in our capital program. Here's the end results of the east end of Bocce and the overall beautiful picture of our activity center here at R.H. Johnson. And like I said, it was an unprecedented year, very busy, and I just thank you for all your support. I know closures of pools, of parking lots is never convenient to our community, but it's a necessity, and I thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, Carl. Just to brief summary, I mean, retire better now. I don't know how you can. You're already here. And so we are very, very proud of that. I couldn't be more happy waking up on a Monday. And whoever says that? Well, you guys are retired. You can all say that. Every day's a weekend for you all. But I tell you what, Monday mornings when I sit in a room with these people, it is absolutely a wonderful experience, puts a smile on my face because they can entertain like no other, but they get the job done. And all the people working underneath them, folks in the back room, Terry, John, Martin, everybody. I mean, Mr. Wellman, who else is back there? Sabrina, Pete. I mean, you can go on and on and on. I mean, we have assembled, I think, a pretty good team of dedicated people taking care of you all and the facilities that we have here. Thank you to the governing board for all of your support financially, approving these budgets year in and year out. It's a tough process, I know. It goes on and on, but we really do appreciate everything that you can throw at us as far as that goes, because it's a challenge, and we like that, and we just really enjoy what we do, and I think it shows in the conditions of these facilities. So thank you very much. Again, the best place to live, and this one is done by a professional organization. This is me, but you're gonna have to convince me otherwise. Find me another spot, right? And then be kind. And we hope that kind of transfers to all of our public meetings. Everything that we do, we're doing for the right reasons. It's always easier to get something and coordinate things in a kind fashion as opposed to any other method of grunting and complaining. So we appreciate your support. We'll take a little bit of a break, 5-minute break for everybody. Staff will be at the table. Sign in, microphone's there, and we'll happily answer any and all questions. Terry, online, do you have any folks lined up? 0 on that. Anybody have any questions, please sign in, and we'll be at these tables in about 5 minutes. are back, and fire up if you're ready. I don't know, is that mic on, Dave? I can, here. No, they're signing up on the podium. There you go, sir.
Testing, all right. My name is Dave Bennett. My rec card number is 137887. I really appreciate the facilities here at Sun City West. That's why I moved here. But I wanted to give you a brief state of my well-being in my softball career here. Going on 2 years now since the governing board overturned a legal vote to continue commingling in softball that's been going on for 20 years. I no longer can play co-ed softball because there's not enough people to form a league where you don't have just one or two teams playing each other all the time. So I can no longer play co-ed softball. My over 70 co-ed league, we have 3 teams, and so you're playing the same teams over and over again for 6 months. It's still softball, it's still fun, but if anybody's played team sports, it's not as much fun as having bigger leagues. And because of that, there's the commingling combined with reciprocity with Sun City. It freed up our facilities. It put less wear and tear on our facilities. There were more of us. We put more wear and tear on their facilities. It freed up days and times for more leagues to form over here that are now we're really crowded on the things that we do, and because we can only play over here. And so I beg the board to reconsider reinstating, I call it not commingling, but player reciprocity, where we can play on teams big enough where the leagues are more interesting, more fun, less wear and tear on our facilities, they last longer, and getting back with the people that I played with for the first 2 years and a half that I was here before since I moved to Sun City before they did away with it. Thank you.
And that is something that we will continue to look at. It's not just softball. It's really the competitiveness of sports. So when it comes to whether it's tennis leagues, tennis tournaments, pickleball, softball, those types of sports, when we deal with our RRMPs, I think Casey kind of touched on it. It's a complicated matter because we've got 91 clubs doing 91 different things. So when we look at club sports, competitive sports, there's like kind of a different segment there that we need to kind of continue to study, to continue to look at. But again, you know, our policy is dealing with our owner members and the folks that play here. But we'll definitely continue to communicate, talk, and see if there's something that can't be handled.
Ed Westell, 115908. My question's on the irrigation project. I think I remember it was discussed that we had an advantage being all our golf courses were tied together with a pipeline, and just wondered if what the benefit was as far as how many acre feet we had to, reduce.
Great question.
Yeah, good question. Yes, ADWR did allow us to combine all 7 golf courses because of that pipeline, because it did touch each of our 7 golf courses. So that was a real advantage to us. If we didn't have that, we would have had to report each golf course individually. And so I think we would have had to take out more acreage as far as desert if that would have been the case. So we put a pencil to it and we figured out what's the most acreage or the least amount of acreage that we can take out and still maintain our allotment. So it did work out in our favor with the pipeline, pretty much.
Bill, we have a request from online to have you introduce the employees at the front of the table with you.
I apologize for that. I can go around the room. I can read that. We'll just let's go around the room ourselves and talk. One thing I want to do while we do that, though, how many years of service we have on this table here? It's well into 100 and some. Start with Russ.
My name is Russ Boston. I'm a facilities maintenance manager, and I've been here 33 years.
Good morning, I'm Carl Wilhelm. I am our capital projects manager and facilities operations manager, and I've been here almost 7 years.
Hello, Cliff Swan, CFO. I've been here 2.5 years.
Bill Schwinn, general manager, been here almost 5 years and another week or two.
Todd Patty, environmental services manager, and I've been with the rec centers for 32 years.
Casey Huda, recreation manager, and I've been here for 8 years.
Katie O'Grady, general services officer. I've been here 18 years.
And I'm Kirsten Peterson. I work in HR and have safety, and I am the youngest of the group. I've been here a little over a year and in 5 months.
I'm Tracy Skousen, the library director. I've been here 4 years.
In the back of the room is Pete Family. Did you do the math? No, sorry.
Jolene Piaskowski, 132268. I know we've talked about craft shows, and I know that we don't have one anymore. Is there a possibility for us to get one or have one, in the sense that I would be willing to do it, help, head it up? My thought process would be that you guys, our CSCW, would just rent the tables, right, to the clubs, and then the clubs would make that determination who would go on those tables. And then you guys would have to PR it and do all your special things. But I don't know why we couldn't do that.
There's no reason other than, budget and that type of thing. So it's just a matter of working with the recreation team to kind of put those kinds of programs together, communicate, whether you want it indoor, outdoor, on a parking lot, how large you want to go, those are just things that we handle recreationally. So approach us and we'll be more than happy to work with anyone.
I mean, and I would start it that we just do, did I lose it? One, because we used to do two, correct? One in October and then March. So maybe if we could get the ball rolling this October and see if we could do it. And
All right, there's some logistics behind that because in our RMPs, no sales can be done on recreation property. So we can look into something possibly and think outside the box. And don't think that we haven't been thinking about it, because we have. But we just want to make sure that we are trying to get everything put in place before we can present it, because I do want to present it to the board before that we do move forward, because it is still a sensitive subject since we don't have craft fairs, since the village store is no longer here. There's rules for selling, mass production being the main piece in the RRMPs, so on and so forth. So we just want to make sure that we're covering all of our bases, all of our I's are dotted, T's crossed. And, putting on a big event, festival
I
like
it.
that takes a lot of work. So we want to make sure before we start that work, we have everything in compliance with our policies.
Lesson learned, Jolene, on I think we did one, I can't remember the date, but it was kind of a craft sale. We had it out in the parking lot. Folks could come in. Nothing was really vetted at that point, but so people were kind of cleaning out their garages, renting tables, having
that's the garage sale.
events. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a total different thing.
And it
I
but
mean,
it
that
turned
was-
into a situation at the end of the day that stuff didn't sell.
I got it. I
in
was
the-
there. I lived it.
in the
And
parking
I had
lot
a
for us to
concert
take
that
away.
night, so we lived it. Casey and I lived it. We will never do that again. They can have their garage sale at their house. But I just think that we should really consider that. I think a lot of the residents would look favorable upon it, but you said the RRPs, but maybe we can do something with that, because, I don't know, a lot of people, I belong to Rip and Sew, and I know a lot of people do not make things, they come and they cut, but they make their items at home, because they all have sewing machines at home. unlike me. So, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
David Bennett, 137887. I'm just curious, I didn't know till today that Liberty Field was being watered with potable water. Is there any way of getting, I don't know how close the closest pipeline to the golf courses are, is there any way of getting water to that, from there? I mean, even in Boise, I did away with most of my lawn because I had potable water, and I thought that was a stupid thing to do, so. Thanks.
Yeah, I think the closest golf course would be the back nine at Echo Mesa, and that would still be quite a run to get the water over to the ball field. The other thing too, if we were watering the ball field with that well water, it would be on their allotment, so then that would cause us to probably be over our allotment by using that water on the ball field.
It? Anybody? Well, with that, it's been a 2-hour show, and we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Again, you can watch YouTube. All the slides should be posted if you want any more detail on that. We are available anytime via email. Come by and talk with us. Thank you very much for your attendance, and I appreciate it.